So I'm joined now on the phone from Cairo by Hisham Al-Arab, chairman of the Commercial International Bank, Egypt. Thank you so much, Mr. Al-Arab, for joining us. Good to talk to you. As you well know, the banks were open for the first time yesterday, this after, more than a week of protests. Can you give me some idea of how much money was withdrawn or transferred just yesterday?
Well, on average, if you take the average 7 days of shutdown on banking sector, the business we have done yesterday represents the total backlog of a week. We haven't seen an extraordinary transactions in terms of cash repatriation or transfers out of panic at all, which surprised us all. In fact, we did a plan at the bank. We know that the first 48 hours will be a difficult one. The only challenge we had is the cash mobility. Because you understand.
So getting the cash around the country because of logistical problems.
Exactly. And the cash mobility was the biggest challenge. We managed it well in coordination with the central bank and other banks as well. We're helping each other. For example, if I'm open in one area and the other bank is short of money, we help each other. Okay, so it's
Mr. Al-Arab, tell me, how did the capital outflows then? You say the first 48 hours are going to be extremely tough. How do the capital outflows that you have seen so far compared with what you were expecting to happen when the banks reopened?
To put it in a percentage-wise, is about 80% lower than what we expected.
Okay. And how concerned are you about money continuing to flow out of the bank? I mean, the central bank has warned that as much as $8 billion could flow out of the banking system over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. Put it that way, this is the central bank governor estimates, and we look at it in a different way and simplify things for you. Currently, the loan-to-deposits in the banking sector in Egypt is about 55%, so they have ample amount of liquidity to satisfy customer requirement, and that's a very, very low percentage compared with anywhere else in the world. Number one. Number two, the dollarization rate in the banking sector in Egypt is about 22%. Assuming it goes back to the highest point it was before during the previous crisis in 2003 was about 30%. That 8% represents less than the 8 billion that the governor is looking at. And,
so from what you're saying, you have enough liquidity right now to meet customer demand, right?
Absolutely. But banknote is still the challenge. But in terms of liquidity,
but right now there are limits on withdrawals, aren't there?
Withdrawals in banknote, not withdrawals in terms of transfers or drafts or the normal orderly other banking transaction.
Was there pressure on deposits?
No, not really. I mean, what we have seen is people saying, fine, if I want to break my deposit, if I need some cash out of the deposit, would it be a problem? We say no. Some people, when they broke a minimal amount of their deposits and kept the rest. We have a lot of issued CDs for our customers. They were wondering if we going to impose any penalty if they need to break part of it. We said, no, we'll not impose this an extraordinary situation. So we have to deal with it in a more of a rational way. We haven't seen people breaking CDs, and withdrawal from mutual funds was very much balanced. We have a money market fund here in Egyptian pound, and that.
I just want to be absolutely clear about this. All the ATM machines are operational. All your branches are open.
Not the offsites. At the branches, yes, but the offsites not yet. You know that we have some ATMs in other places away from the branches. Those are not functioning yet. But the ATMs at the branches, even if the branch is closed, is operating.
Mr. Al-Arab, how will this crisis affect bank lending?
Well, put it that way. I mean, if you think about the sector like the tourism, we have to be sensible. They went through crisis before. That sector is very much well. Their leverage is quite low. Okay, it's about 2 to 1, and that's compared with other markets in the world is an extremely low leverage. So they will be surviving a season or two with no real crisis. Plus, the asset value compared with their borrowing is quite substantial as well.
And are you going to be taking part in government T-bill auctions?
we have liquidity, and we what you call it, we invest our liquidity in different instruments. Of course, with the yields going between 11 to 12% now, it's quite tempting to be involved in the auctions. Today there is an auction. I think what I hear from the markets, between 11 to 12% there will be the auction. This is 3, 6, and 9 months. A very strong demand from. We have customers coming in to buy T-bills.
You will be taking part?
Yeah.
To what extent do you think yields are going to rise?
I'm sorry?
To what extent do you think yields are going to rise? There have already been predictions from bankers that yields are going to rise. Foreign investors will avoid this auction. That's a big worry, isn't it?
Yeah, it's, I mean, for foreign investors, obviously, we don't expect them to join the auction. In fact, we expect them to sell on the secondary market. The secondary trading today for Treasury bills between 3 to 6 months was trading at about 11.5%, which is not far from the levels I mentioned to you for the primary market.
Have you been speaking to your international clients?
Yes, we have been in touch with our international clients all the time, even during the shutdown, because our international operation was functioning all the entire last week. We have international obligations, and we have a lot of assets invested overseas as well in terms of short-term money with other banks and T-bills and so on. What we have done last week, we raised the liquidity level to the highest level, not the highest level really, to stage 2. In case we have deposit runoff and so on. And this is why I'm telling you that what we have seen over the last 48 hours, including today, is about 80% less than our forecast.
When the dust settles with this political deadlock, Mr. Al-Arab, how serious are these protests? How seriously will they have impacted the country's economy? Because we're not just talking about financial institutions, are we? We're talking about ordinary people, shops and businesses, companies, and of course, the tourism revenue that you were talking about.
Usually I don't get involved in politics, but I'll give you my own personal take on this. Those kids have done something good. They have facelifted Egypt for many years to come or forever. And now think about it from a business side. Anyone who will be elected in the future under the changes of the Constitution, which are proposed and accepted by everyone, will be accountable. And he will be elected clean elections, and he will be a populist person. A populist people take unpopulist decisions that we were afraid to take before in the economic agenda. Sorry. So if you look forward in the future, I'm looking at it from a business point of view. I would love to have a populist people taking unpopulist decisions, and that would not have happened with unpopulist people.
Hisham is Al-Arab Commercial International Bank Chairman. Great to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed for your time. We appreciate it.